Good afternoon. My name is Vijay Kapoor, and I'm the receiver for the City of Chester. This morning, I filed a pleading in Commonwealth Court asking it to rule that the legislation that took away the City of Chester's right to appoint all the board members of the Chester Water Authority is unconstitutional. I want to be clear that the issue that I'm going to talk about today was not before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court in its recent decision, so they didn't consider it. Also, for those of you wondering why this case is being filed, when I had filed a plan modification back in October of 2025, the judge in that matter dismissed the plan modification without prejudice because we did not include Delaware County and Chester County, which we did today. So let's get to the filing. Pennsylvania's Constitution prohibits legislation from applying to only one entity. That's called special legislation, and that's what happened here when the General Assembly passed Act 73, which was written in such a way that it would only ever apply to the City of Chester and the Chester Water Authority. The best way for me to explain why I'm filing this matter is to tell you what actually happened. What I'm going to tell you are verifiable facts that tell a very different story than the one you probably have heard. I'm asking you to keep an open mind, and at the end of what I'm going to tell you, ask yourself if what happened here was fair. For over 73 years, just like every other municipality that incorporated a single authority, the City of Chester appointed all 5 board members of the Chester Water Authority. That changed when, in just 7 days, the Pennsylvania General Assembly used an unusual legislative maneuver to pass language in a bill called Act 73 that gave 3 CWA board members each to Delaware County and Chester County and reduced the number of the City of Chester's board seats on CWA from 5 to 3. The bill's primary sponsor was the former mayor of Chester and powerful then Senate Majority Leader, Senator Dominic Pileggi, and the bill passed during the period where his political party had just lost power over the City of Chester, where it had ruled almost exclusively for the previous 90-plus years. According to the only legislator who spoke when the bill was about to be voted on, the bill was supposed to be about ratepayer representation, so that additional members could represent authority customers on rates, service problems, and other issues. That legislator was Representative Michael Turzai from Allegheny County. Representative Turzai was also the then majority leader of the Pennsylvania House and of the same political party as Senator Pileggi, the bill's sponsor. There was just one problem with Representative Turzai's comments on the House floor. In describing the bill, he left out a requirement, the key requirement for the bill to apply to an authority, and that was that the authority needed certain infrastructure called projects, like a dam, reservoir, or a pumping station, to be in 3 or more counties. So let's take a look at the requirements of the bill. And what will help me do that is to look at 3 other water systems in Pennsylvania where you would think that Act 73 would apply to, but don't because of this requirement to have projects in 3 or more counties. So what I've done is I've made a table for you that you can see on your screen that has the requirements of Act 73 in this column and whether the CWA and 3 other water systems met them. And keep in mind, remember, what Representative Turzai said was that this bill was about ratepayer representation. So there's 3 main conditions that all need to be met for Act 73 to apply to a water authority that was incorporated by a single municipality, just like all of these water authorities were. So the first requirement is that the water authority needs to provide services to residents in 2 or more counties, just right here, 2 or more counties. So CWA meets that requirement. Westview Water Authority meets that requirement. Westview Water Authority is out near Pittsburgh. It services 3 counties, Allegheny, Beaver, and Butler. You have New Kensington Municipal Authority, which is also out near Pittsburgh, that serves 2 counties. And Northampton Borough, which is up in the Lehigh Valley, services 2 counties. 2 counties in New Kensington, 2 counties in Northampton Borough. So everybody meets the service criteria. So now let's look at the second requirement, which is that the authority has to have projects, as defined in the law, in 3 or more counties. Well, the only authority that meets this requirement is CWA. Every one of the other authorities only has projects in 2 counties, even Westview, who serves residents in 3 counties. The third requirement is that you need to have a combined population of the municipalities served outside the incorporating municipality that is at least 5 times the population of the incorporating municipality. So I'm going to call that the population ratio. So what that all means is basically you need this number here in this line to be at least 5 times the size of this number. And the idea here was an incorporating municipality had a certain population and then it grew. And the idea here is for the area that it grew to, that those municipalities need to have a combined population of at least at least 5 times greater than the incorporating municipality. So what I have on this slide are the populations here as of the 2020 census of the incorporating municipalities and then the combined populations of all the municipalities served outside the incorporating municipality. So just looking at CWA, the incorporating municipality is the city of Chester, right? We all know that. City of Chester, which had a population of 32,605 people based on the 2020 census. The population of all the other municipalities, the combined population of all the other municipalities served by CWA, though, was 233,935. So that creates a population ratio of 7.2, which is greater than 5, right? So that meets this requirement in the Act. So now let's take a quick look at New Kensington and Northampton. Same thing here. This is their population of their incorporating municipality on this line, 12,170 for New Kensington. The combined population is 82,556. So you've got a population ratio of 6.8, also greater than 5. So that checks out. Same thing with Northampton Borough, 56,603. And the population of the incorporating municipality was 10,395. So we've got a ratio here of 5.4. Every one of these is greater than 5. So now let's take a look at Westview. The incorporating municipality for Westview is Westview Borough. Westview Borough has a population of 6,685. But it serves municipalities with a combined population, excluding the borough itself, of 573,824 people. So it's got a population ratio that's completely off the charts. It's got a population ratio of 85.8. But even though Westview serves residents in 3 counties, and even though Westview has a population ratio of 85.8, Act 73 does not apply to Westview because Westview only has projects in 2 counties, which is completely bizarre, right? Because if Act 73 is about ratepayer representation and it applies to the Chester Water Authority, which serves residents in 2 counties and had a population ratio of 7.2, shouldn't Act 73 also apply to Westview Water Authority that serves residents in 3 counties and has a population ratio of 85.8? But it doesn't, simply because of the projects requirement. And then you look at how the projects requirement impacts the Chester Water Authority. And here's also a very interesting, bizarre fact about Act 73, and it's a fact. The only reason that Act 73 applies to the Chester Water Authority is that part of the Octorara Reservoir extends into Lancaster County, so that CWA has projects in Delaware, Chester, and Lancaster counties. But CWA doesn't serve any residents in Lancaster County. So how is this about ratepayer representation? It's the projects requirement that keeps these 3 water authorities out, but captures CWA. Now, I have to say this. The situation of Westview bothered us for quite a while because we could not figure out why it would be excluded, because based on what the purpose of the act is and based on the data, it should so obviously be excluded as part of Act 73. And it also bothered us that Representative Turzai, who was the House Majority Leader at the time, that his comments on the House floor excluded the projects criteria. Again, that critical criteria. And then just, to top it all off, the projects criteria in and of itself didn't make any sense because it is not related at all to ratepayer representation. So we looked up the district of Representative Turzai, the then Majority Leader of the House. He represented Pennsylvania House District 28, which you guessed it, is served by the Westview Water Authority. Since Act 73's passage in 2012 and continuing through today, the only authority that triggered Act 73 was the Chester Water Authority, and the only city that lost its ability to appoint all the board members of an authority it created was the city of Chester. This is textbook special legislation, and this is per se unconstitutional. It is not fair that this happened to Chester, and it wouldn't be fair if it happened to anybody else, including Westview or any of the other authorities that I mentioned today. I appreciate everyone for taking the time to listen. I hope you better understand why I filed this matter and what is at stake here. Please stay tuned for updates in the coming weeks. Thank you.